Welcome to another episode of SportsVibe. I'm your host, Arnav Sarkar, here with episode 76. A lot to get to. We got college football quarterfinals review, semis preview. We'll review NFL Week 18, what that means for the draft order, the playoff picture, preview wildcard weekend, even talk some NBA, NHL. And we can even start with the FCS Championship game because North Dakota State dominated. They didn't really dominate, but they dominated the first half against Montana State and rode that out to a win. It was an exciting game. Both Cam Miller and Tommy Mellott, two really good quarterbacks on that level. Tommy Mellott going 195 yards through the air, 135 on the ground, two passing touchdowns and one rushing touchdown. Miller 199 yards, two touchdowns on 19 for 22. Completion percentage almost perfect, and then 121 yards and two rushing touchdowns. The Bison getting off to a 21-3 start before Montana State roared back to cut it to 21-18, but from there North Dakota State matched them touchdown for touchdown. Montana State tried to recover the onside kick, but couldn't. I believe they could have, but I believe their players, I think, got scared that they had accidentally touched it and that would be called, so they were not able to dive onto the football on time. North Dakota State recovered the kick and basically killed off the clock. Montana State didn't have anyone to return it. They tried to go all out with the punt block, but didn't work. The punt basically landed on the ground and rolled to take away all 10 seconds. So a walk-off punt there for the Bison to win the championship, 10th in 14 years. So they're absolute. They're an absolute dynasty. So I mean. North Dakota State just absolutely, an FCS dynasty. I don't think it gets better than that. But with that being said, moving back over to the FBS, the quarterfinals are some really good games as well. We can start with the Fiesta Bowl between Penn State, Boise State. Maddox Madsen, threw 3 picks. He had a good game. 23 of 35, 304 yards, but late in the game when all the pressure was on him in the passing attack, he fell short. Penn State did an excellent job of stacking the box. They shut down Ashton Genty. He still had 104 yards on 30 carries, but basically 3 yards a carry, only broke through for 121 yard gain. And Penn State started the game well on offense and on defense. Tyler Warren found the end zone. Omari Evans, the nice deep shot. Penn State definitely improving their offense. They've opened up the playbook since they were shut down against Ohio State. So Penn State, able to do some things on offense. Boise State able to try to come back as Penn State. Boise State used Ashton Genty as a decoy, able to get that passing offense going. Matt Lauder with a nice 53-yard pass to cut it to 17-14. They almost scored again, but a penalty called them back. I believe they missed 2 field goals, which would have also helped their cause, but Penn State took advantage and went up 24-14, then 31-14. Nick Singleton with a 58-yard run. Katron Allen had a much better game, 17 carries and 134 yards, but the Penn State passing attack has me intrigued as to what will happen in the Sugar Bowl, in the Orange Bowl against Notre Dame. But some of the other quarterfinal games, Texas versus Arizona State, I thought this would be the most lopsided. It was actually the most competitive. Quinn Ewers had time to throw, and they built up a nice lead. Matthew Golden had 149 yards on just 7 receptions and a touchdown. But Texas had a nice lead, even with Arizona State being scrappy, but they went up 24-8. But then Arizona State able to get 2 touchdowns and 2-point conversions. Cam Scadaboo with a passing touchdown. He had 143 yards on the ground, 99 through the air, another 42 as a passer. So he was on a mission, obviously, but even forced overtime with Burt Auburn missing 2 field goals. But in overtime, Texas was able to pull away. I believe they missed a safety or a targeting call on that would have changed the game on Texas's safety. So Michael Taff, I think he got away with one, but at the same time, Texas able to hold off the Sun Devils and move on to the semis, where they'll play Ohio State. So speaking of the Buckeyes, Will Howard went for 19 yards and 3 touchdowns. Travion, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Jeremiah Smith, 187 yards and 2 touchdowns. And it was just Ohio State from the start. I mean, since the Michigan game, Ohio State's been incredibly dominant. Ohio State's been incredibly dominant since the Michigan game. They've absolutely torched defenses left and right and center. This game, they opened up with a 45-yard pass from Will Howard to Jeremiah Smith on a crossing route, a screen pass that Jeremiah Smith took to the end zone. Emeka Egbuka had a deep pass. Jane Fielding got his field goal magic going again, which is going to be important. Travion Henderson broke a 66-yard run, and Jeremiah Smith even had a deep ball 43-yard pass. So all explosive plays. Oregon found the end zone the last play of the first half and tried to mount a bit of a comeback, getting it to 34-15. You think if Oregon scores a touchdown, we have a football game, but Travion Henderson said no more to that. And basically Oregon scored one more touchdown, but it was a 20-point win, which really didn't even feel that close. Ohio State rolled. I mean, on defense, Ohio State equally as dominant. The offense rolled out to a 34-0 lead. The defense was just completely all over the Ducks. Didn't even really let them get anything going. It was a party in the backfield. Multiple players on that defense. Cody Simon, JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer had 2 sacks each. King Curry had 1. Lathan Ransom from a safety spot had 1 as well. So just a big game for Ohio State. They've been extremely dominant since the Michigan loss. They've opened the playbook up. They've went to their receivers. Jeremiah Smith has been an absolute stud for the Buckeyes, and now they play Texas in the quarterfinals. I mean, so in both games, they've went back to their receivers, and Jeremiah Smith this time, 2 deep touchdowns, 187 yards, 7 receptions, and he's just been special. But Oregon didn't really have what it took, and they lost down their undefeated season with the Rose Bowl loss to the Buckeyes. So Ohio State getting their revenge there for one of their 2 losses of the season. Notre Dame taking on Georgia in the Sugar Bowl in the final game, and this one was quite an interesting one. A little swing by Notre Dame really got them the win. It was a defensive battle, field goals, but what really got Notre Dame the win was a swing where they hit a field goal, got a touchdown. Georgia fumbled and they recovered, and then Notre Dame scored a touchdown. So 2 touchdowns in 8 seconds to end the first half. A special teams touchdown on a kickoff return. So from 3-3, Notre Dame went up 20-3, and then Georgia tried to mount a comeback, get it to 20-10. The game was still largely in the balance, even after Mitch Jeter hit his 3rd field goal to go put the Irish up 23-10. But some brilliant coaching by the Irish with a 2-score lead to not give Georgia the football back. Georgia ended up jumping off sides. This is how it happened. Notre Dame ended up running all 11 guys off the field. They were going to punt, but then they brought their offense on the field. Georgia brought their defense on the field. Play clock running down. Riley Leonard fake claps, and Georgia jumps off sides. Probably weren't even going to snap the ball on the 4th and 1, but now Georgia basically gives Notre Dame a fresh set of downs. And then a few plays later, Notre Dame, Riley Leonard flips over a defender for the first down, and Georgia never sees the football again, I believe. So 80 yards on the ground for a fearless Riley Leonard, 90 yards through the air. Gunnar Stockton didn't have a bad game, 20 for 32, 234 yards and a touchdown, but it wasn't enough. Parker Jones with a penalty and sideline interference, but that did really nothing to prevent Georgia from winning. They even had a fresh set of downs. Still couldn't do anything with it. Notre Dame getting the win over the Dogs, and now we got the Orange Bowl and the Cotton Bowl. Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Texas. To start with the Orange Bowl analysis between the Irish and the Nittany Lions, it's going to be an interesting one. Notre Dame the slight 1.5 to 2.5 point favorites. However, I think either team can win. It's a very even matchup. I think it's about as 50-50 as we've seen. Both teams feature strong defenses, strong run games, capable offenses, although each team with a limitation. With Abdul Carter coming off the game with an injury, he's trying to make his way back. For the Irish, Jeremiah Love injured. I just see Penn State winning the game because of a few different things. I think Drew Aller in the offense has found a new spark. They've been able to get the ball downfield. They got Tyler Warren. Notre Dame's been relying on special teams. They've been relying on defense. I don't think they're going to be able to get as many scores to swing the game. I think they're going to have to earn it on offense, and I think Penn State can shut down the Irish offense better than most. Their defense held Ashton Genty in check. I expect them to do the same with Riley Leonard on the quarterback keeper and with Jeremiah Love, especially given that he's banged up. I think Penn State, in a battle of two teams who have really good defenses, I think Penn State has the offense to withstand the punch that Notre Dame will provide on offense. So I think Penn State, is going to be able to hang on and win. I think Notre Dame's going to be able to keep it close, but both defenses are going to keep the other offense in check. I think Penn State's going to find the big plays through the air, and even on the ground, they got Katron Allen, Nick Singleton. I struggle to see how Notre Dame's going to be able to get their ground game going with an injured Jeremiah Love against the Penn State run defense, which has been elite at shutting teams down. So as I said, in a battle between two teams with really good defenses, I think Penn State is going to be able to move the ball through the air and on the ground more effectively than Notre Dame, which gives me a Penn State win. Also, special teams, their kicker's been ice money. So is Notre Dame, but they've been uneasy. But I think the big difference is two elite defenses. I think Penn State's defense is better. They're going to shut down the Notre Dame run. And on the other side of the ball, they're going to be able to move the ball both through the air and even on the ground. So I think Penn State's going to have the easier time on offense. They're going to do enough on offense and shut down Notre Dame's offense enough. Notre Dame isn't going to be able to come up with a kickoff return touchdown or a long touchdown run. They're not going to have as much luck in the turnover battle, and they're not going to be able to get easy points the way they did against Georgia. They're going to have to earn it, and I think Penn State is going to limit the run game and exploit Notre Dame in the pass game. So I think that's why the Nittany Lions win. I think it's going to be a close one, but that's my prediction. And then as for the other game, Ohio State taking on Texas in the Cotton Bowl, could have a home game feel to Texas as it's in state, but Ohio State, playing like the best team in the nation on both sides of the football. Texas does have a good lineup to try to stop them. They have the best secondary in the nation. They have the best D-line apparently in the nation as well. They got to put pressure on Will Howard. They got to shut down those receivers. Got to make Ohio State earn it on the ground. And then on offense, they've got to use their offensive line, give Quinn Ewers time. They have a plethora of weapons as well on their offensive side, but they're going to really have to put it together. They've been very unimpressive on even with wins against Clemson, Arizona State, they've let lesser teams in the game this time. They're going to be the underdog. They're going to have to play flawlessly against Ohio State. I don't see that happening, especially the way this has gone. And even then, Ohio State could still get the win. But we'll see if this matchup provides an interesting clash against the Buckeyes. The last SEC team going against one of the best, if not the best team in the nation. They've really flipped the switch since the Michigan game, as I mentioned. So, should be a good one. The weather is snowing out in Dallas, which is really interesting. But right now the game's still scheduled for Friday. That's my college football update. I already talked about the FCS Championship, the quarterfinals review, the semis preview. Really good games. I think Notre Dame, Penn State could be potential for a really good one. I do see the Nittany Lions getting the win, but I think Notre Dame and Penn State are both built very similarly. I think Penn State's going to be able to pull it off. They are slight underdogs, but each team has struggled to win big games. So this could be one where the winner really breaks through, gets to go to the national championship game. In Ohio State, Texas, two Blue Bloods, they have also struggled to break through recently themselves. So, win could be huge for these two to get back into the national championship game as well. So a lot of great college football action to take place over the next couple of days. I think, the first couple of rounds, maybe not the best, but I think the quality of these football games are going to be are only going to get better. I'm seeing James Franklin calling Marcus Freeman out on Notre Dame joining a conference, and I do think that maybe they should, but I think there should be uniformity in college football. A lot of teams play different amounts of conference games, but Notre Dame, as an independent, they do get all the money. So it is a different, interesting luck. But as long as Notre Dame, has a favorable agreement where they can reach the postseason, they can get all the revenue money that would go to conferences. They could schedule whoever they want, play whatever season they want. They have an agreement with the ACC. I think it works out well for them. But I do see James Franklin's point. So that one should be a good one. Both games should be a good one. But looking forward to those matchups for sure. But in the NFL, just to review, week 18, and preview the wild card weekend. Everything's been decided now. So just to go through the last week of action, Baltimore knocking off Cleveland, the Browns now in the number 2, the 2 pick, probably looking for a quarterback. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry had a good game. Lamar Jackson trying to stamp his MVP claim. So Baltimore looking good to host Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh has really been reeling, 4 straight losses for the Steelers, not a lot on offense until very late in the game. The Bengals put up a good performance on a 5-game winning streak, but too little too late. We'll get to that later. The Panthers knock off the Falcons and send them home. Although the Buccaneers won their division anyway. The Texans knocking off the Titans. So the Titans with the 1 pick. The Giants saved their draft position. Thank God, I was really worried about that. Their starters losing to the backups of the Philadelphia Eagles, with Tanner McKee having a ridiculous game. Giants with the late comeback attempt. I was actually able to enjoy Malik Neighbors putting on a show, but Philadelphia able to hang on and edge out the backup Giants. Or the starting Giants with their own backups. So they're going to be in good shape for the playoffs when their stars come back. Saquon did not get a chance to go for the record, unfortunate, but Eagles have their eyes on bigger things. Obviously, I won't be rooting for that. But in any case, the Colts knocking off the Jags, Commanders taking down the Boys, Packers over the Bears, or other way around. The Bears beat the Packers for the first time in forever. Packers, Jordan Love not in the game, but Caleb Williams and the Bears ending their season on a high note. Bucks taking down New Orleans. They'll be going to the playoffs. Baker Mayfield having a good game. New England losing out on their draft position by knocking off Buffalo's backups, even though they did play Joe Milton the third. So yeah, New England basically, realizes what the Giants did last week. The Raiders go back to losing, but their pick's gone. The Chargers advance to the playoffs. Justin Herbert does play, as they were playing for seeding. Quentin Johnston had a good game as well. So the Chargers in the postseason, the Cardinals dominating the Niners, who had a miserable 6-11 season coming off their Super Bowl appearance. Injuries just really screwed them over. The Broncos backups knocked off the Chiefs. The Chiefs did not look like the same team at all. They did not even find the end zone or even get a field goal. I mean, it was just really shocking to see. The Chiefs just laid down. They did not want to see Joe Burrow in the playoffs, and Denver stamped their spot in with Bo Nix scoring 4 touchdowns, and the Seahawks knocking off the Rams in what ended up being a meaningless game for Seattle. Rams playing their backups already confirmed in the playoff spot, although both teams ended up having the same record. Seattle gets the win. Geno Smith has a good game, won't matter. Jets knocking off the Fins, again, won't matter. Aaron Rodgers having a good end to the season. Dolphins, I guess they weren't playing Tua for some reason. I don't know what the story is with that, but and then I thought he was healthy. And then the Lions knocking off the Vikings in the Sunday night game, which is a very good matchup between the Lions. Between the Lions and Vikings. Number 1 seed in the NFC, number 1 seed in the NFC, top of the NFC North, all up for grabs. But it was Detroit who dominated. It was a close game, just kind of a low-scoring affair. A lot of defense. Lions getting a buzzer-beating field goal after the Vikings kicked it out of bounds. Vikings even close it to 1, but then it was all Detroit from there. Jahmyr Gibbs with a 10-yard pass and 3 touchdowns by Detroit to pull away, prove that they're better than the Vikings. Lions 15-2, Vikings 14-3. The Packers 11-6, and this division is probably the best we've seen in football. 3 double-digit win teams, and 2 of which have 15 and 14 wins. So this Sunday night football game meant everything. It wasn't as good as I thought it would be. Detroit definitely proved to be the best team in their conference with a statement win over a similarly good team in Minnesota. But yeah, I mean, that basically sets the scene for the NFL draft. Titans with the number 1 overall pick, the Browns at 2, and the Giants at 3. Hopefully the Titans and Browns don't both take quarterbacks, but if they do, the Giants set up nicely for Travis Hunter, Bo Nix. I'm not Bo Nix. Jackson Dart an option. The Giants certainly do have some intriguing options for quarterback. Looks like the Titans looking for a quarterback. The Browns, some projections are saying that they'll take Travis Hunter. So that means Shedeur Sanders in line for New York, which would be nice. Hopefully that does happen. Seeing that, a lot of the mock drafts have the Titans taking Cam Ward, with one of them saying Shedeur. Browns, 3 of them say Hunter, one of them says Ward, and then the Giants, 3 of them say Shedeur, one of them says Hunter. So we'll see if Shedeur falls to us. We'll see what the Browns decide to do with their pick. The Giants could trade up. They can take Jackson Dart. They can, after taking Travis Hunter, they can hope one of the 2 guys lands to them. They have a few different options. They can wait and see what happens with the 3rd pick. If one of the 2 quarterbacks will fall to them, they can get Travis Hunter and Jackson Dart. They can, hope to negotiate a trade. They can get someone as a bridge quarterback and, hope to get a quarterback in next year's draft. But I think the Giants did put themselves in a decent position for a quarterback. Hopefully the Browns do end up taking Travis Hunter and not a quarterback. But as they do have Deshaun Watson, they do have Jameis Winston. They do have some different options there. But regardless of all of that, the Giants ended up messing up their pick, but not completely. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping that the Titans and Browns end up leaving one of the quarterbacks for our team. But regardless of that, I think the Giants do have several options. They can go Travis Hunter and get Jackson Dart. They can hope for a trade. They can get a quarterback, in a trade. They can, or in free agency. They can wait till next year. I mean, certainly a few different ideas that people have. They can either hope for one of the 2 quarterbacks, Shedeur or Ward, to fall to them. They can get Jackson Dart. They can, get Hunter and Dart. They can wait for, like I said, they have a lot of different options. They can either wait, get Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, whichever one falls to them. If neither do, they can get Travis Hunter and they can get Jackson Dart. They can get a quarterback in a trade. They could try to trade up for one of the top 2 picks. They could even, even have Drew Lock start. But hopefully they end up getting one of the top 2 quarterbacks. If not, they get Hunter and Jackson Dart, or they get a quarterback either in free agency or in trade as a bridge and try to get one next year. But, obviously the ideal situation is they get either Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. If not, they get Travis Hunter and Jackson Dart. But we'll see what happens. A lot to get to. Giants are keeping Brian Dable and their general manager Joe Shane. So hopefully they do have a plan with their quarterback situation. But enough of the teams who didn't make the playoffs. It's time to talk about the teams who did and NFL wildcard weekend because I'm really looking forward to this one. Playoffs. Chargers taking on the Texans in the first game. As is tradition, the Texans get the 4:30 game on Saturday, the no one cares game, but except for it should be a pretty good one. Texans, the weakest division winner, but they're certainly not too shabby. I mean, a loss to the Texans. Baltimore absolutely demolished them. I think the Chargers are coming in hot. Justin Herbert and LA are looking good. Since their loss to the Chiefs, they've and Bucks, they've won 3 straight, and I think they have the weapons. I think they can make it work this year, and if they do win, they'll likely be going to Kansas City. Because the Bills and the Ravens are seemingly headed for a crazy divisional clash. Ravens taking on Pittsburgh, the Steelers going down the drain. They started off, I believe, 10-3, and they ended up finishing 10-7, 4 losses to pretty good teams in the Philadelphia Eagles, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and even the Bengals. The Ravens, meanwhile, are playing really good football, 12-5. Since their loss to Philadelphia, with some missed field goals, they've won 4 straight. Justin Tucker's been on the slide, but since their loss to the Eagles, they've blown the doors off the Giants. They asserted control of the division against Pittsburgh, a dominant Christmas Day win against the Texans, and another one against the Browns. So, I mean, they're in good shape for the Saturday night clash against a division rival in Pittsburgh. Should be an interesting one. On the Sunday slate, Broncos taking on the Bills. Broncos getting their way into the playoffs after the Chiefs basically allow them to get in. But regardless, they've had a pretty good season, a little bit up and down. But Knicks has played good. But Buffalo has been on another level this year. If there's any team capable of beating the Chiefs in the AFC, I think it's them. Their offense has been on another level. Last time the starters were out, they demolished Aaron Rodgers and the Jets 40-14. I think they'll get by Denver, but it's the first time since that the Broncos have made the postseason since 2014, or even before that, I believe with Peyton Manning, might have been 2015, not too sure. Packers Eagles, a lot of question marks on this game. Jordan Love, hopeful he'll play. Jalen Hurts, not sure if he'll play. Jalen Hurts looking to get cleared from concussion. Jordan Love, hopeful he'll play. So a lot to decide between the quarterbacks. Saquon Barkley and the starters will be back in the lineup there. The Eagles and Packers squared off in Brazil for the opening game of the season, way back in September. But it'll be Philadelphia going against Green Bay once again. Hopefully both quarterbacks play. That should be a really good one. Afternoon game on Fox. Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love both hopeful they'll play. I think the Eagles are going to be one of the top teams in the NFC. I think it'll be Eagles-Lions in the NFC Championship game. And two of the other games in the round, the Commanders taking on Tampa Bay Bucks. An interesting game there because Washington going against Tampa in a rematch of the playoff game from a few years ago where Washington was division winner thanks to the Eagles basically sending starters. Really unfortunate for Giants fans who thought they could have made the playoffs. But again, they had like 6 wins. I don't think that was really going to end up well. But regardless, Washington gets in, I believe, with 6 or 7 wins in that season. They actually played Tampa Bay the closest that they could. That they did as Tampa went on to win the Super Bowl. Washington ended up having 7 wins. Could have been 6. Giants could have had the tiebreaker, but it doesn't really matter anymore. Tampa Bay back in the playoffs after a little bit of a while, but had been a good one for the Bucks. Baker Mayfield and company back in the postseason here, able to win the NFC South. They've had some good stretches and some bad stretches, but they've been able to end the season on a high note here. So they played solid football. I think they'll be a good opponent. I think Washington with their 12-5 record, I think is going to look to make a run in this playoffs. Potentially get a shot at maybe even going back to Philly. But they've been impressive under Jane Daniels. So looking. I'm excited to see what they do. I mean, they had a tough skid where they lost to Pittsburgh, the Eagles, and Commanders, but since then, 5 straight wins, including the Titans, Saints, the Eagles, the Falcons, and then the Cowboys. So avenging 2 of their losses in that stretch. Yeah, I mean, certainly, a good team. Are they going to be able to beat another good team? This one I feel could go either way. At the same time, not too sure. And finally, we end with Vikings versus Rams. Vikings have 3 losses. The Rams were one of them, but the Vikings are 14-3. The Rams 10-7. A lot of people say the Rams could win. I think the Rams are playing good football with Matt Stafford and their guys. They could cook up another one. I think the Vikings could get by them, but I think the Vikings going down on the wrong track, even though they have 14 wins. We'll see if LA can get it. I think this one could be a more intriguing game than people think. California wildfires, so a lot to monitor in terms of the weather there. But that's basically the NFL playoff picture. Some other things wanted to touch on real quick. The NBA with a really good matchup between 2 of the top teams, basically in the league. The Cavaliers already had a 15-game win streak. Now they have a 10-game win streak going into this one. They're 31-4. And they'll be taking on the Thunder 30-5. So two top teams in the league. The Thunder have won 15 straight. Both of these teams are head and shoulders above the next teams. So it should be a really good one. I believe top offense, top defense. This could be NBA Finals preview. In the East, we got Cavs, Celtics, Knicks, Magic, Bucks, Heat, Hawks, Pacers, Pistons, and Bulls on the bubble. Sixers, Nets, Hornets, Raptors, Wizards. The West, Thunder, Rockets, Grizz, Nuggets, Mavs, Lakers, Clips, Wolves, Spurs, Warriors. That's a playoff picture. Kings right now sitting just outside, as are Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns, Blazers, Jazz, and the Pels in the hunt. So that's their NBA playoff picture. Over in the NHL, Maple Leafs right now at the top of that, followed by the Panthers and Bruins. The Caps taking over in the Metropolitan. The Devils on a little bit of a skid on the West Coast, although they knocked off the Kraken. The Canes right now in the third position. Over in the West, the Jets, Wild Stars, and Avs, top four. Pacific, Knights, Oilers, Kings, and Canucks tied with the Flames. But that's basically our NHL recap. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the episode of SportsVibe. A lot of college football, NFL as well. But thank you for listening once again. Enjoy the playoff games. Enjoy the college football semis. Enjoy the wildcard weekend of the NFL, and everything else going on. And hope you all are enjoying winter break or whatever's going on. But in the meantime, this has been another episode of SportsVibe. I'm your host, Arnav Sarkar, and as always, we will see you next time.